Hi, welcome to my journey. My name is Sheree. Well, I'm going to try to get a little adventurous today, right? Because I have been planning a whole excursion leading up to me going camping, me going back kayaking out in the water, right? And so I basically got pretty much everything. Hold on. Okay, so I got me a little, heat reflecting hat on. Got my sunglasses. Got me a few plastic bags that I'm gonna put my phone into. I got my water shoes on. Got me a change of flip-flops and a top for when I get back out of the water. Right? I got the air compressor in the back. I got the paddle. Yeah, I got the paddle. So we're gonna go try and play in the water. We're gonna try to go play in the water. And this area is specifically designated for paddleboarding. So I feel really good about that. I feel good that I won't have to worry about like boats, waves, problems. I won't have to worry about problems. So, got my rock star right here. And my God, it's 95 degrees out here. Okay? So it's hot, right? Now, I did think about going to this new pool that they opened up in the neighborhood, but, this here seems more adventurous to me, and I think I would get more exercise done. I'm not sure if the new pool has like a lap, a swim lap area. I don't know, right? But if they did have a swim lap area, then yeah, I probably could get some exercise going if that was the case. But it won't feel outdoorsy-ish, right? And I always have it in the back of my mind that, I don't know anybody. I should know people that have a pool so I don't have to spend $13 and be inconvenienced with all of these strangers, in the water with me. Yeah, the mind will say some things. The mind will say some things to you. Okay? And I'd be wondering, is that Clorox gonna be enough to kill the germs? And the same would go with, somebody who lives, in a place that has a pool. Yeah. So that's the one thing. That's the one thing that I be tripping off of, because somewhere in my mind, I'm supposed to have friends, right? That's supposed to make my life easier, even though I love autonomy and I love doing things on my own and making shit happen, okay, for myself. It doesn't mean that every now and then, you can have an easy situation, right? And because honestly, if I feel like if I really wanted a pool, I would have got a house with a pool, or I would have put a pool in the yard somewhere, okay? Even if it's one of those pools that you're doing stationary laps because of the wind, the water current. Ooh. So yeah, I'm a little afraid. I can't lie. I'm a little afraid, but I mean, the only thing that would not make me be afraid is to do it, right? Is to do it. Is to go on out here and do it. I think there'll probably be enough people out there where I don't have to like have a partner. That's what I'm thinking. You know, because they tell you don't go out in the water by yourself. You know. And that's good advice, for sure. But when you're an introvert like myself, and nobody I know is on my frequency, right? I couldn't just pick up the phone and say, hey, you know, get your canoe and your gear and let's go, you know, paddling. Now, if I was up in Seattle, I think I could have found some people like that, right? They may have been European, but, you know, I could have found some people that would do that. Down here, the separation, the culture differences are real. They really are. And even though, you know, you're talking about maybe living right next door to each other, you know, your lifestyles, you know, don't intersect. They just don't. So, yeah. So I'm not going to do anything crazy, right? Like I said, there's a whole, what they call a paddle trail. The paddle trail, I believe, is like 3 to 8 hours. I read it to y'all. Well, I did record it. I don't know if I opened it up to the public, but dang, I am so excited. So yeah, I did review the first couple of pages in my book, so I felt pretty good about that. And while I was reading it, I was like, okay, you know. So I was, you know, getting a very good idea of, you know, what was supposed to be, you know, learned. And I did put them on flashcards. Here's my personalized flashcards that I have. So I felt really good about that. I did learn that there's a difference between a state board exam and a national licensing exam. So that was one thing, you know, I was curious about. You know, I'm like, well, what's the difference between the designations? And I also learned that, you know, you can't get nationalized until you pass certain criteria by the state. All right? And I was like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. What else? And I am so thankful of that woman who was at that kayaking space that told me, you know, the PPE required to do kayaking is a life jacket. Okay? And I did buy, a generic life jacket. Yeah. So, I thought I had one. I don't know. There's stuff that have just came up missing out of my house that, let me tell you something. When you live with people or people have access to your home, things get put in there and things get taken out of there without your permission. And that's the thing I think I love most of all about living by myself, right? If I live by myself, chances are, if I put something down, it's gonna be there when I go to look for it. It won't be moved. It won't be put away. That was one thing, I had to face, a lot, when I was living with other people is, of course they thought I was disorganized and, they would come at me with, hey, all that stuff that you had on the coffee table, I stuck it in this bag right here if you're looking for it. Like, oh, okay. And that's how that went. So, otherwise, then I'll try to live in an environment like a museum where nothing gets touched, nothing gets moved, and yeah. And the cleanup is simple. So we didn't get a chance to go to the gym because the gym was closed today. And interesting enough, the garbage man, he came today. Yes, he did. He came today and emptied the trash. I thought that was interesting because I didn't think he was going to show today. I'm like, yeah, it's probably a holiday. So then I forget. Usually, the city will either give you the day off or they'll pay you for the holiday. You get holiday pay. That's usually how the city works. But the 3rd isn't a holiday. But I guess, I don't know. They put up a flyer saying that, the senior center was going to be closed the 3rd and the 4th. That's one of the reasons why, I'm like, well, get on out here, blow up the kayak, and get you, some rowing done for your exercise, and, and call it a day. So I've been panicking. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna take my phone out there with me. How am I gonna take my phone out there with me? I haven't been without my phone ever, unless it was broke down or wet or don't say wet, Cherie, don't say wet. Okay, as it was broken or wet or oh my gosh. And since I'm on a prepaid plan, look, if you don't pay when it's due, on the day that it's due, they shut you off. But even if your phone is shut off, you can still do emergency calls. So that's why I'm going to bring this phone with me. I'm going to leave the other phone in the car. I don't want any mishaps, but mishaps happen, right? I brought 3 plastic bags. I'm going to put my phone in All 3 plastic bags. Okay, alright. I've already taken off my watch. My smartwatch, right? Yeah, I took off my smartwatch. And, yeah, you know, like I said, you know, I've rarely been able to do any kind of water activities, okay? So this is going to be nice, but to say that I'm well aware and prepared and, you know, have the precautions and stuff all out there and all of that, no. That was one of the reasons why I was even thinking about taking another swimming class, because I'm like, gosh, girl, do you really know how to swim? I mean, it's been years since you actually swam. How can you say you know how to swim? Right? And I said, well, I guess I'm saying it kind of like when it comes to riding a bicycle. If you learn how to ride a bicycle, you sort of feel like, even though you don't ride a bicycle every day or haven't rode it for years, you know, you still feel like, you know, you know how to ride a bicycle if, you know, a bicycle was in your presence. Damn it. Ooh, that was a tight turn. Hit my back tire. I'll take a picture of it. Look at that. So yeah, we're going kayaking. Oh, it says it's 97 degrees out here. Thankfully, it's 5 o'clock though, so it shouldn't stay hot. Hopefully, by the time I blow up the kayak and get the paddle put together and have everything ready to go, it'll be 90. Yeah. We're not going to be overly optimistic. I could have sworn they had a big fountain there at one time. Okay, I'm here. This is the first time that I'm really glad that there are more people out here, right? These guys are kind of with paddle boards mostly, and the kayaks are hard kayaks. I got it inflatable, and that's just the way it is. And I'm gonna inflate my paddle board, and I ain't gonna be embarrassed. I'm gonna be happy. And yeah. So I want to put my keys and the phone in 3 plastic bags. Period. Okay.